Omicron continues to keep the world on edge with cases multiplying and countries reimposing restrictions. Pediatric vaccination centres are being set up in Singapore for children aged 5 to 11 to get their jabs. And it's that time of the year when we put the 10 best cars against one another to name the Straits Times Car of the Year. Good evening, you're watching The Big Story with me, Haryanto Diman. Subscribe to the Straits Times channel so you never miss a single episode. If you're heading over to Malaysia for the holiday season, do take note of some new restrictions. Large-scale New Year's Eve celebrations will not be allowed, but private gatherings among friends and family members to celebrate Christmas and New Year can go ahead. Now, this if only participants undergo COVID-19 self-tests.
We are not allowing for big New Year's Eve gatherings, for private New Year's Eve gatherings, as well as for private Christmas celebrations. You will need to do a self-test before you go for those events.
Meanwhile, Malaysia is ramping up its booster vaccination drive, with Mr. Khairy warning that the country could face a new wave of infections if the rollout isn't accelerated. This comes as a second Omicron case was detected in an 8-year-old who arrived from Nigeria via Qatar on December 5th. The Straits Times' Malaysia Bureau Chief Shannon Teoh shares the latest on the COVID-19 situation in the country.
Well, any new variant scares the bejesus out of people because it introduces a new variable, an unknown. I mean, even though the early reports are that this is a more transmissible but less dangerous mutation, people are still afraid of catching it here in Malaysia. No one here wants to take an unnecessary risk of getting infected. So, word that double vaccine isn't good enough to fend off Omicron has also reignited interest in boosters. So, government is going to reactivate our mega vaccination centers. These are the ones that could roll out more than 10,000 jabs a day. They're trying to get everyone to have a booster by next February. Well, everyone who has taken either Sinovac, which has a lower efficacy, or those above 60, which are 60 years of age, which these are the people who have higher chances of developing complications from COVID. Now, one thing that's weighing on people's minds, I suppose, is the fact that daily cases are still high. They're averaging above 4,000, and this is kind of close to 2/3 of nearly the level from 2 months ago. This is despite nearly all adults being vaccinated, and nearly 4 in 5 of the entire population is fully vaccinated in Malaysia. I mean, this by fully vaccinated, we mean double dose, because the government wants to change the parameters and say that, well, it should be with a booster before we qualify you as fully vaccinated now. Now, this is on the one hand, right, a lot of transmissions, but on the other, deaths have come down quite a fair bit. It was above 80 2 months ago, now it's below 40. So I suppose the lesson here is that the vaccines do work, maybe not in terms of limiting transmissions, but it has reduced the rate of death, reduced the level of complications involved. So I think just generally, when you look at this Omicron situation, no one really wants to be responsible for the potential new variant. If this new variant could, potentially cause complications to the COVID-19 management, right? So everyone's playing safe. We want to know more about what this Omicron variant does before we actually open the floodgates again and have more VTLs, open up more borders, so on and so forth. So it's so far being a better safe than sorry response to.
Elsewhere around the region, Australia is ruling out lockdowns to contain a surge in COVID-19 infections. Cases hit a record 3,820 on Friday, breaking the previous high of 3,400 a day earlier. A Taylor Swift album party in Sydney last week has become a super spreading event with 97 positive cases reported. Meanwhile, South Korea is reinstating social distancing rules after a spike in cases. From Saturday until January 2nd, Gatherings of 5 or more people will be banned, while eateries must close by 9 p.m. And Japan has detected its first local Omicron case, a staff member at a quarantine facility. Back home, one more local COVID-19 case has tested preliminarily positive for the Omicron variant. The man who is fully vaccinated is a loading assistant at Changi Airport Terminal 3. He had no contact with flight passengers and was identified as a close contact of a previous case reported on Wednesday, who had also tested positive for the new variant. There are 24 confirmed Omicron infections detected in Singapore to date, comprising 21 imported and 3 local cases. Pediatric vaccination centres are being set up as Singapore prepares to roll out its vaccination program to children 5 to 11 years old later this month. In a Facebook post, Health Minister Ong Ye Kung said he visited one of the centres, which can vaccinate about 1,000 children a day. He added, parents will be allowed to accompany their child at the centre, and staff are specially trained in pediatric vaccination, with pediatric experts supporting each centre. A quick look at other headlines. One of Singapore's key economic indicators has beat all expectations. Non-oil domestic exports for November surged 24.2% year-on-year, the biggest increase since February 2012. Economists were expecting growth of just about 15%. It was a busy month for shipments of electronics as well as specialized machinery and petrochemicals. 23 travellers were caught at Changi Airport on Wednesday for failing to declare cash above $20,000 or to pay taxes on cigarettes, liquor and other items. They were caught following a 7-hour police and ICA operation at Terminals 1 and 3. And congratulations to students who sat for their N-levels this year, in particular the normal academic stream students. 79.2% will be promoted to Secondary 5 next year, the highest rate since 2009. Now, I have to say, December is one of my favorite times of the year, and this is one reason why.
Welcome to the Straits Times Car of the Year Awards 2021. These are the top contenders this year.
Wow, this car is smart. It's stopping by itself. This feels like a big car, but it steers like a sporty car.
Build quality, look at the carbon fiber. So smooth, so responsive, so quick. This is the future.
Tesla is fast. This screen is so big. Feels like I'm driving a supercar, and it's quite unbelievable.
With me now is Senior Transport Correspondent Christopher Tan. Now, you saw him there driving one of the contenders. So Chris, let's reveal the Straits Times Car of the Year 2021. In third place, it's the BMW iX3. In second is the Tesla Model 3 Performance. And the Straits Times Car of the Year 2021 is the Audi e-tron GT. Chris, my dream car is an Audi, but sadly I don't think I can afford the Audi e-tron GT for $500,000. That said, Chris, did the car tick all the boxes for you?
Well, it certainly did. I think it's a beautiful car. It drives very well put together. But, you know, it's not just about me. Car of the Year, Straits Times Car of the Year is decided by a committee of judges through a very rigorous process. And it has to satisfy everybody, almost everybody, to win. So a car that wins the ST Car of the Year is actually deserving, very deserving of the award.
We understand you started these awards in 2003. How do you exactly go about picking the ST Car of the Year? How many cars are considered each year, Chris?
Yeah, so in 2003, we started ST Car of the Year. And in the first few years, it was actually quite autocratic because I only had me, right? We didn't have a team. So somewhere in the mid-noughties, we built up a team. And I decided that we should go through a more democratic process. And that's why we came up with a scoring system that had 9 attributes of a car, ranging from performance to styling to value for money even, and all the rest. And we had a panel of judges. It started with a few, and then now today we have 10 judges. So the process is actually quite robust. You have 10 judges going through 9 attributes. Now, each judge will have his own preferences, own set of priorities and needs and likes and dislikes. So I think in that sense, there is a lot of, if for lack of a better word, democracy going on. And the resulting total points that the car wins by, it speaks volumes because the process is very rigorous, right? And we go through a number of cars. I think this year it was about 45 cars, new cars, and they have to be brand new models that are launched, not facelifts, that are launched during the year, and they have to be by authorized agents or the manufacturers themselves. And we sieve through them, and we come to a short list. And how do we decide on which car makes it to the short list? We actually look at each car to see whether it actually raises the bar in terms of quality and the things that it delivers. So it's especially hard for iconic models like the Volkswagen Golf, for instance, because that car has been around for a long time, and each time it gets better and better, but it gets harder and harder for it to push the envelope. But for totally new cars, that comes out like electric cars, they have a slight advantage because they don't have a real legacy.
This year's ST Car of the Year 2021 is an electric car, and this is the 4th time that an electric car has taken the coveted title. It's becoming quite frequently of late. Chris, is this a sign of the times?
Yeah, so we started in 2014 with the BMW i3, and then in 2019 it was the Jaguar I-Pace. Last year it was the Porsche Taycan, and then this year, of course, it's the Audi e-tron GT. If you look at the trend, I guess it kind of points to what the future holds, right? And electric cars are very promising. They're very efficient, quiet, and they have a way. The efficiency is not just in the energy consumption, versus petrol, but also in the way that energy is translated to motion, right? But they have weak points. They have weak points, like they're very heavy. So a lot of the ride quality that we have nowadays, it's very challenging for electric cars to match, right? They have to have a very sophisticated suspension system. And then, of course, the battery life, I think the jury is still out. They're still too new. I think we have to wait a while, but I think the signs are pointing to a very promising future.
Well, thank you so much, Chris, for the inputs. That is Senior Transport Correspondent Christopher Tan. And you can see more of Chris in this video, along with Senior Correspondents To Yong Chuan and Zaihan Muhammad Yusof, taking the cars for a spin and discussing the merits of each one. You'll find the video and Chris's articles at straitstimes.com. And that is the big story for today and for the week. Subscribe to our YouTube channel by hitting the red button below. I'm Haryanto Diman. Have a great weekend, stay safe, and we'll see you next week.